welcome to Andy
and Maddie,
the podcast.
Where
we give you random information that you didn't necessarily ask for, but the universe is telling you that you need.
I like that. That's a good way for us to brand ourselves. That is pretty much what we're doing, I guess, right?
I mean, that's exactly what's happening at this moment in time.
Right.
You're just indulging yourself in a conversation that Marissa and I would have had on our own, but we are instead deciding to share it with the world.
Treat yourself, indulge. The finer pleasures of life. So we are back for the 11th episode. I'm very excited. We finally passed the 10-figure mark. Cue the cheers and applause.
Cheers,
I'm like, stop. No pictures today. But
no photos.
No photos. We have decided for the future, or at least for the foreseeable future, what we think that we're going to start doing with this podcast, what you can expect, our loyal listeners, is that we are going to start doing alternating podcasts of one episode of us just kind of talking about current events, dramas, funner, more lighthearted topics, and then another episode of us talking about more kind of spiritual, deep, reflective, more meaningful, deeper conversations, so that you guys get the best of both worlds.
Yeah,
I think love that.
Exactly. Yeah, I think that before, especially when I was younger, I think I had this idea in my head where I can only be one thing and I can only have one side of myself, and so I dove into the very serious spiritual side and meditating, and that side of myself obviously is still here and rules me every day. I mean, I'm very much a spiritual and in touch person, I would consider myself. However, we do have another side of ourselves where we obviously, and here's the word again, this is the word of the day, indulge in celebrity gossip and different things that obviously every person talks about every so often, the Kardashians, things like that.
I think that you have to have balance in life, right? I mean, you can't have all seriousness, and also it's important to be playful, and have fun and laugh and not take everything so seriously, because that's part of the experience too. And that's ultimately what we're here for, right? We're not only here to take everything super serious and to be so intense about everything, I think that it's important to just let all of the energies, express and be explored and not have to judge that, or yourself for it.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That being said, today's episode is going to be a little bit more of a reflective one. We did our crazy celebrity conspiracy podcast last week. If you haven't listened, go take a peep.
Our episode last week, episode 10, was about an hour and 44 minutes.
Yeah, we went in for you guys.
Absolutely. And Maddie brought forth so much evidence that it was as if she was working on some court case.
It was so easy for me to get all that too, but it really was a lot. It was just 30 minutes. I was whipped up something, but yeah, it was a lot. It was still a lot.
I definitely did not come with that much evidence.
Docu-series,
Yes, it was
the true Hollywood story.
It was quite something. Yes. But yes, this week we are going to talk about something more. It's funny. I actually asked Marissa earlier. I said, "What is that word? What is that word that starts with an E?" And she said, "Esoteric." And I was like, "Yes, esoteric." Yes. So we are going to talk about a couple of things about ourselves, about what we do. I think this is a little bit of a continuation on some of the topics we've already talked about in previous episodes, such as meditation and manifestation and these different things that we've, really, I guess, made a part of our daily lives. Yeah.
Our evolution / exploration of consciousness, really, right? Our growing understanding of what it is to be human and be ourselves, and using the laws of the universe for our advantage, understanding the universe, really integrating all of these messages that we've gotten over the years. It's an ever expanding, unfolding story, So we just kind of wanted to talk today about some of the things that have been on our mind, some of the things that we've been doing that have really kind of been highlights for us lately. I don't know if you want to start, if you want to talk about anything specific, or I can...
I think that something that is, I just wanted to talk about is the fact that I've been reading lately, which is funny to me. I'm sure that a lot of listeners can probably relate to this, and those of you who cannot relate to this, I mean, just understand that I was a reader, okay? At one point in my life, I did consider myself a reader, but I fell off. You know, I fell off the reading train, and
You fell off.
I did, and my attention span got, you know, really messed up from the internet, as Gen Z and millennials
As
know.
does happen.
Yes, and also old people, older generations, theirs is also being
but
really influenced
it's not the
by it.
same.
Yeah, it's not the same. But anyway, point is that I used to read a lot, and when I was in elementary school, I would read so many books every week, and I was top of my class on readers, and we were rewarded with these points in this point system for reading books. And I prided myself in being a person who likes to read. And as my life went on, and as college, you know, I went through college, and I went through life, dropped out of college, went back to college, and I read only out of necessity. I read only what I absolutely had to read, and it was interesting because I chose an interesting major for myself, something I was interested in. So I mean, at least I was you know, engaged in the readings. I wasn't just brushing through them. I actually was reading the articles and the papers and stuff my professors assigned, but I wasn't actually reading for fun at all. And however, I wanted to say I never stopped listening to audiobooks. So I would listen to audiobooks, and I could get through them, and that's how I enjoyed reading for the last, I don't know, 10 years of my life. And just this last month, I finished my first book that I've read in quite a long time.
You actually read it?
I read the whole thing, yes. And it's so funny because what book
was it?
It's Living Exuberantly, and it's by this author named Margaret Magnuson.
Okay.
I believe that's her last name. I can go and make sure actually what the name.
Give us the
it's right there. Just actually, it's Margareta Magnuson, and it's called The Swedish Art of Aging Exuberantly. And this book was a gift to me.
Oh, yes.
From our friend. Shout out to you. Zeta, and she gave me this book for a going away present / birthday present.
Was it? I thought it was just your birthday. I don't really remember.
It was something along those lines.
Some kind of
last year.
Or was it like Christmas? I don't even know.
Was it Christmas?
Maybe it was your birthday.
I don't know. I'm sorry.
I don't know either.
It was a gift.
Yeah, you don't care about the details.
Yeah.
It was fine.
It was a gift.
Whatever we say it was.
Yeah, the audience just knows it was a gift. For Platypus Day. But anyway, just kidding. But anyway, so she gave me this book, and it's been sitting on my bookshelf for a year. I would bring it with me places, and I was like, I'm gonna read this.
I do that too.
And I never read it. And
it's just a prop.
It's a prop to make you look like you read.
It's an accessory, you know?
Carry around a book, and automatically people are like, wow.
Like, I'm gonna read this book.
Yeah, eventually. Yeah, whenever I have time.
I own a book. I would read.
It's the same thing. I have a bookshelf behind me right now, and it's the same thing. Yeah. But this book, it's funny. I think that I would highly recommend for somebody who is trying to start their spiritual journey, or just get insight, or, you know, maybe change their mind about certain things, or they just, you know, maybe you're feeling bored with life, or you're feeling like you're just getting the same things over and over. I think that getting a book like this, maybe not this specific book, but getting a book
to maybe a different book.
Getting a book, but in general, that maybe is like kind of easy to read. Start off something. This one was like 100-something pages.
Okay, so something shorter.
Yeah, and had little tiny drawings so often.
Easy to understand.
Yeah. So I was like, you know, and then it's
like
funny.
Little tiny drawings.
Every so often, there's these little.
There was pictures.
There's these little cute doodles.
Picture book.
Yeah, but my point is
no,
that
that's fun.
Yeah, I think that after reading this book, and I closed the last chapter, I was like, oh my gosh, like, I have been thinking about this book every day, you know, like, every chapter I go throughout my day, and I immediately find things that apply to the lessons that this book was teaching, you know? Yeah, and the thing is that, of course, this happens with audiobooks as well, but I think that there is obviously something special about
100%.
reading.
It's not. I actually have never really been able to get into audiobooks. I just can't. I don't know. I like podcasts, right? So I don't know why. I just can't really get into audiobooks. I really love reading though. Like I also was a super avid reader when I was younger, but I went through a whole phase where I was like literally, you know, that was my hangout spot, like going to get books, reading like literally 10 books in a weekend or something, like an entire series of a book series, you know? And there's definitely a really rich certain magic about reading a book, about sitting there and reading. It's like, you know, it's kind of crazy. And this kind of goes into like what I was going to be talking about of like daydreaming and like, you know, doing that kind of thing. But it's like, it allows you to kind of step into like another dimension in your mind, you know, where the book kind of creates its own space, right? And I think that only really happens when you're reading, you know, because listening, like, you know, the auditory thing is just different. It's crazy because it really does force you to like take all your senses and put it into that, right? Into what you're reading, and like you just get all of these different impressions in your mind. And really, whether you're reading nonfiction or fiction, you know what I mean? You're still going to get that experience out of reading. And I think that that's why it's so fulfilling, you know, and so gratifying that you do like, it's almost like reading high kind of vibe, you know? It's like, ooh, I got a little something from that. Like that was, you know, I got a little rush, or that kind of drew me in, or I just read something really profound and like impactful that I was just like, damn, you know? Or even just reading for fun. Like, I think that could happen too, you know?
Just laughing along at something.
It's like, for me, instead of watching a TV show or watching like, you know, whatever, consuming media in a different way, you can get that same fix from books, for sure, obviously. But that's so fun.
Yeah.
We're here for the reading.
Yeah, I think that I would recommend that to anybody that's listening to this, that if you're trying to just get some insight, you know, just go and pick a book that seems interesting off of a shelf. Go to a Goodwill. If you don't want to spend much money, go to Savers or something and find yourself a book that just pops out to you, and you're going to get something from it. You know, this book is about growing old and the act of Swedish death cleaning, which is basically cleaning your house before you die so that your family members don't have to do it for you. And it's like her talking about her earliest memories and her raising her children and moving from Sweden to the US to Asia and then back to Sweden. And, you know, it's like, what does this have, you know?
Very specific.
Very specific. And at the end, it's like, you know, it's funny because what does this have to do with me at all right now in this phase of my life that I'm in? But I loved it.
You still took something from it.
I was 100% here for it. I rode that journey with her, and I'm so glad I know about this woman's life. Yeah. Well, anyway, highly recommend reading.
I like that. Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's a great segue. If you have anything more to say about the reading that is hype.
No. I mean, that is what I'll start off with for this podcast episode. Lately, that's been something that has helped me and makes me feel really good. So, and I think that it's so cool, you know, step away from your phone, step away from comments and from the algorithm and from all these different things. And go into something where you cannot be distracted. Yeah,
it's not digital. And I think it's almost even funner because you do get to use your imagination, you know? You do get to kind of create your version of it instead of just having to consume everything that's like, you know, placed into something. It's like a more simplified way to interact with the world.
And also, I mean, we've talked about this before, but how much do you really remember from when you're scrolling, you know?
Yeah.
I know that for a fact that the things that pop out to me the most, I'll usually share them to my story or something or screenshot them. But even then, like, do I remember that quote? Can I just, like, remember that quote? You know, from whatever I just posted, you know, it's like, probably not, you know, honestly, really no. And the thing with the book is that it really sticks into your brain.
It hits different. It just truly hits different.
It does.
And I really do think that it's because of this daydreaming aspect of it, which is kind of what I wanted to talk about. We had a podcast episode about Joe Dispenza, where we discussed all of his practices, his like teachings, his research. So go watch that episode to get more information so that I don't have to go super in right now. I'll just be very general, give you the TLDR. Joe Dispenza he's a neuroscientist. He basically does research on the brain, different states that the brain goes through, and he also uses basically meditation in order to allow people to access those different states without just, you're in one state when you're fully awake, you're in another state when you're in between being asleep and awake, and then you're in a different state when you're asleep, right? So essentially, by accessing those different states that your brain goes into, you are able to influence your subconscious a lot more, which is key when you're wanting to attract things into your universe, right? Now, what do I mean when I say when you want to attract something into your physical world, right? Essentially, the way that the universe behaves, it's really easy to understand once you kind of get the basics. It really is. The universe is made out of atoms, out of particles. These particles behave in a certain way, and everything, all these particles are constantly moving, right? And so depending on how fast or slow they're moving, they have a different vibration, right? A different frequency. So the vibration is like the actual movement. The frequency is the rate of that movement, right? So those are kind of like low-key interchangeable because we're talking about kind of the same thing, right? That's where like good, bad vibes comes from. Now, essentially the way that the universe works is that you're going to attract whatever particles are vibrating similarly to your particles. So it's almost like Joe Dispenza says, it's like you're a mirror, right? So whatever you are putting out to the universe is going to be directly reflected back to you. Now, it might not be completely conscious, right? Because most of our beliefs are subconscious. You might be telling yourself over and over, like, that's why, for example, affirmations don't necessarily just instantly work for people. Because you could be saying, I'm rich, I'm rich, I am rich, I am rich. And I heard him say this in a talk today where he said 5% of your brain believes that you're rich. But the other 95% does not believe it still. Your subconscious mind still has all these blockages. So you're still not in alignment with it, right? You're still not vibrating at that frequency. You're still not emitting that. And essentially, your magnetic field, right, is composed of the frequencies that are coming from your brain and from your heart. So it's like your heart exudes like your emotional state and your brain exudes like your thoughts, right? So through Joe Dispenza's work and through all his research, essentially he's been able to combine all of these worlds in order to show that when you are in certain states, you are more easily able to influence your subconscious mind and thus your overall vibration. And that through visualization and also really aligning and stepping into a moment so that you feel the emotions associated with the visualization, you can really, really get really powerful results as far as actually actively manifesting and actively attracting what you want, right? It's kind of like taking the power back, rewiring your brain. And as I said, a big part of this is it's pretty much just all visualization, right? That's like what his meditations are. That's kind of what the practice is. You're visualizing and you are stepping in so that you can feel the emotions. That's really important. And so I've been doing these meditations a lot, like, constantly, like at least twice a day, but sometimes just all the time. I mean, I was telling you the other day that I was just in traffic and in my car and I was just thinking, I just want to sit here and meditate right now. I'm just, I'm not really doing anything. I'm just driving and I'm just having like these daydreams. I'm having these visualizations. And it just feels so good, right?
You're not supposed to meditate while
I know. Well, obviously I didn't.
It literally
okay?
says in the beginning of the tapes to not do this while operating a motor vehicle.
I don't put on a meditation.
I know what you're saying. I listen to affirmations.
I'm listening to music.
Yes.
I'm just in my own head, and my eyes are open. Let me make it clear. I'm not doing anything dangerous. It's just that
I understand.
When you start rewiring your brain and allowing yourself to daydream, you realize that this is our natural state and it does really feel good, right? But also that there's such a power in it and that is really what changes everything for you.
I know for a fact that in this book he touches on these things as well. This one I listened to as an audiobook, and in that book he uses these...
Is it this one?
Yeah, it's The Power of Positivity by Dr. Norman Vincent Peale. So I highly recommend this book as well, which talks about visualization in a very, I think easily digestible way, and in a way that's also, it's in a Christian perspective. You know, this book is
Oh.
from 1951, and so to get people in average everyday America to do visualization, the easiest way for them to understand it was through prayer. You know, when you
Yeah.
close your eyes and you imagine something and you ask for it, right? And so, so okay, Marissa.
Go ahead. I just have one.
Oh my gosh.
I want you to finish first, though.
Okay, so I was just gonna say, so in the book, he talks about visualization in terms of, you know, how Marissa's saying you have to see it, you have to imagine it, and then you have to feel it, and you have to really feel like it's actually real.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hilarious because Abraham Hicks also talks about this, that you're gonna look crazy, and that
Who
you're
is
gonna
another speaker slash law of attraction person
Louise Hay.
for no.
What?
I'm explaining for the audience that Abraham Hicks is
Oh,
a law of attraction coach, I guess you could say.
yeah.
Slash like channeler,
Spiritual advisor.
person, yeah.
Well, anyway, so in this book, The Power of Positivity by Dr. Norman Vincent Peale, he talks about how there was this one very monumental moment in his life where he was running this magazine with his friends. It was not doing well. And they went to this one woman who was responsible for donating a large sum of money that kept the newspaper. It was a nonprofit paper about life improvement type thing. And they had 40,000 subscribers, and it was mostly due to a really nice donation from this one woman. So when they were not doing too well, they decided to hit up this old woman and see if she would be down to give them back, you know, give them another donation. And so they went with her and they had a meeting with her, and she said, I can give you something that is way more meaningful and way better than giving you another donation. And they looked at her like, you know, what are you talking about, you know? And she said, I'm going to teach you all how to visualize, and I'm going to teach you how you can get
attract it without having to ask for it. Yeah,
and how you can get this newspaper or this subscription that they had going, how you can get it going again.
Love that.
And so they said, well, you know, they were very skeptical. They didn't really want to hear it.
Yeah,
you know, like they were
of course.
They were looking.
It's like a corporation. They're like, you want us to meditate on it?
So they were looking. Yeah, they were looking. They were looking at her like, what is this lady about to do? And so she had them sit down. It was like a group. It was like this man, Norman, and then his like partners. And they sat down in the room, and she said, all right, so how many subscribers do you need in order to keep this subscription service going?
Right.
And they said 100,000, and they had 40,000. So this was 60,000 more people, right, subscribing to this. And so she said, okay, great, perfect. She was like, that's easy. Yeah. And she said to them, all right, so close your eyes. And she said for them to imagine 100,000 subscribers. Right. And to imagine 100,000 people receiving this magazine, and to imagine 60,000 more people signing up to receive the subscription. And so they start sitting there, they start imagining, and she starts leading them through the visualization. And Norman, the man that wrote this book, at first he wasn't really seeing it. He wasn't vibing. He just thought this moment was a bunch of BS, essentially. And the man that was next to him, he explains, he's like, the guy that was next to me, my friend, he was a much more imaginative guy. And he starts saying, I see it, I see the 100,000 subscribers. And he says, where do you see these? And he starts describing them in his head, and Norman starts seeing it himself. And he starts seeing the 100,000 subscribers. And so the woman said, all right. And so once they imagined it, they felt it, they lined up with it, she said, great. She said, you are now officially going to receive the 100,000 subscribers. And your only job is to stay in steady belief and steady faith, and thank God, that's what she said, and thank God for giving it to you. And Norman says, in this very, 1950s type of attitude, he was like, oh, and I thought that I was really stretching it. I thought I was really asking God for too much in that moment in time. But lo and behold, they obviously received these 60,000 subscribers. They have 100,000 subscribers, and the magazine keeps going along as it was supposed to.
You know what that really makes me think of? is recently I watched this video about this woman who we actually talked about on the other episode too, who was Jose Silva's secretary. Another man who talks about this exact same stuff because so many people have known about this for literally centuries.
So let me tell you, this book is the book she read.
No way!
This is the book that she read.
Oh my goodness. Okay,
that
wow. That's so crazy.
Yes, that changed her life forever.
Let me explain this for you guys. Yeah. So, this woman, we did talk about her in the last episode. She's known as the contest queen. I forgot her name. I feel so bad. I don't remember it off the top of my head.
Vishen Lakhiani also talks about her all the time.
Yeah, he does. Yes. Yeah, because it's the Jose Silva,
meditation method. Yeah.
But, okay, so this woman, she... basically, she ends up reading this book and she works for Jose Silva as a secretary, who was another man that was doing the same research of visualizing and aligning, and especially during certain times, it just boosts it even more. It's sweet spots, but visualizing things is the key to just attracting into your reality. It's literally that simple, right? The
sweet spots, Jose says, are in the morning right when you wake up, at noon after lunch, and at night right before bed.
So, in combination with, these teachings of Jose Silva, the meditation, the visualization, in combination with the book that she read that you're just now mentioning, which I'm of course, she went on to win over 5,000 different contests, okay? These were random contests, giveaway type situations, raffles, lotteries, whatever. And she had this method. And her method was very, very, very simple. And I think about this all the time, and it's so easy to understand, right? This is these techniques down to the easiest point. It is select it, project it, expect it, collect it. So I'm just going to say that one more time, just so you guys really get it. Okay, so you select it. First, you decide, what do you want? What do you want? What do you want?
Second, as if you're ordering from the menu of life.
Exactly. Correct. Just like you would at a restaurant, right? Or you're getting your morning coffee drink. You're what do I want? Select it. Second, you're going to project it. That is the visualization part, right? That is the part where you are doing the active, lining up with it, where you're visualizing, where you're feeling it. And also where you're trying to, change your self-concept to match the version of you that has that, right? So it's the version of you that has whatever you want. Step into alignment with them as well in the physical world, in what you do. The third one is expect it. So it's it's the easy part, right? Visualization is the easy part. It's simple. And then you just wait. And the key is that you don't lose hope that it's not going to come, right? So it's if you do a visualization and you're okay, I want $2,000. And the next day you didn't get the $2,000 and you're upset. You just can't do that, right? You have to know that it is coming. It is coming. Even if it seems how could I get $2,000, right? Or how could I do this, right? How could I find this? The universe will find a way.
Yeah.
And it might be something that you would never expect, never predict, right? But if you just select, project, and expect completely, you will collect. And her, there was a story that I think illustrates this really well. The first really big contest that she won was a house, okay?
At the World Fair.
Yes, it was the World Fair, and it was this kind of it was a pre-built kind of thing where it had the model of the house, and you could put it anywhere in the U.S. You could put it anywhere you want. So it's if you won the house, that was your house, they'll put it wherever you want. And so she entered the raffle, and she was using these techniques, and she knew, this is my house. I'm going to win this house. I want this house, and I'm going to be the winner. There was tons of people who entered this contest. A fair amount of competition. A statistician would tell you that the odds are low that you're going to win, right?
Over 1 million people entered
it
out
was
of the
millions.
country.
And but she was so sure. She selected the plot of land where she was going to put the house. She was telling all her, she was talking about it, planning for it, doing all of these things. She had already selected all of these things. She knew what she was going to move into the house. I mean, as soon as she selected it and projected it, she was expecting it so much that she was completely acting as if she had already been told the news, right?
And she also didn't just imagine the good things about the house. She imagined the maintenance of the house. She imagined taking out the trash in front of the house. She imagined every aspect
that's the fun
of the house.
thing, right? Again, it's like just your imagination. What would be like? What does that movie look like, right? Yeah, exactly. What do those smaller moments look like? Just step into it. What does it look like? And so, you know, her family thought she was crazy, and everyone was kind of like, girl, like, you really think you're gonna win? So many people entered this. You're probably not gonna win, you know? And she had absolutely no doubt. She knew she would win, and she did. And she won the house. She got the house exactly like she said she would. She would. She put it exactly where she said she would. And she continued to do this in a formulaic fashion over and over and over and over. And she became like world famous because, or infamous, you know, really, because people were, you know, oh my God, how does this lady win so much? And it's
she
like,
was Texan. She was in Loretto, Texas, I believe, with Jose Silva.
It's simple. It's really simple. It is that simple.
Yeah, but
select, project, expect, collect.
Yeah, and like what Marissa's really talking about is that lately we really have been pushing ourselves with meditation, I think. Before, I think we had this concept of meditation that was like, okay, as long as we do it once a day, which is amazing. If you are listening to this and you are barely starting there and you do that every day, I think that that's way better than like never meditating, obviously. Even if you do it like once a week, honestly, that is still better than like never doing it.
Yeah,
truly.
And I actually think that, I just want to say this too, you don't have to meditate every day or meditate over and over and over in order to project, right? In order to visualize. You can do it once. If you are strong enough and you're aligned enough to just do it once and just actually step into the expecting phase after that, that's enough. Seriously. That's enough. I mean, really, you probably wouldn't even have to do a meditation. You just select it, right? And then expect it. Skip that phase because you're already projecting it by doing that, right? But the thing is, most people, right, even us who have been into this for a long time, you have so many subconscious like barriers to that it's hard to do that. And that's why what I have found is like, I, even just in the short time that I have been doing, even just 2 15-minute meditations, right? One when I wake up, one when I go to sleep. It changes my mindset, my self-concept, my thoughts all day long. And so it helps to do it a little bit more, or to try to push yourself a little more. It kind of, I feel like, accelerates the process of, you know, not having to do that all the time and really mastering the manifestation kind of methods.
Yeah, and also another thing for the listener, I think that it's important to know that all of these things are available for free.
Yeah.
So we listen to these on YouTube. We listen to these on Spotify. They are on Apple Music. They are on every platform that you can physically imagine, on podcast platforms, whatever you may have it. And I use this one app that I wanted to mention in this episode was the Mind Valley app. And I think I've mentioned it once or twice before, but it's an app developed by Vishen Lakhiani, who is the person who basically, I would say, inherited the 6-phase meditation from Jose Silva, and then he did his own spin on it. He made it,
he carries on the message.
Yeah, his family granted him, they granted him permission to use Jose Silva's methods and to keep it going on his platform and with Mind Valley, his company.
And again, you can hear more about that specifically also on our other podcast about Joe Dispenza and Jose Silva. Just saying.
Yes, you can. And I think that that's an amazing place to start, is just how Marissa's saying, like, once in the morning or once at night or something like that. I think, that's really what helps me.
I feel like, personally, I crave it. Like I told you, right?
You get to that point.
Yeah, first it's a little, even if I go a little bit without having an extended meditation, which I have since I've discovered meditation. I've gone through phases, right? Where I might not meditate for like 2 weeks or a month or even, whatever, not really sit down and meditate. And when you first start, you can get a little, you are a little fussy, you're a little like, it's hard to stay still. It's hard to keep your mind, just blank and not start going off in your mind about different things. It's hard to ease into at first when you're not used to quieting your mind and just being in the unified field, right? Just being connected and being present. It's hard because it is kind of like unfamiliar in this go, 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 grind culture. So give yourself grace, be patient with yourself, and allow yourself to have that journey of getting better at it and mastering it and finding comfort in it, because you will get to the point where you do crave it. And Joe Dispenza talks about this, that it's like, yeah, when you rewire the brain to feel all these amazing feelings and to have all these amazing thoughts, of course you're going to want to continue feeling that, right? So just don't be discouraged if it's not easy at first, because it's worth it.
Yeah, it's a journey.
It's the hack. It's the hack.
It is. And honestly, just like indulging in certain things like that we're mentioning, like the books we're mentioning, the meditations we're mentioning, these people, like, just Google them, just look into them, just, I don't know, be a little curious about these things. That's what I would encourage anybody who listens to our podcast, is like, yeah, how Marissa was saying in the very beginning, and how we were saying, we of course are normal people. We like indulge in celebrity gossip, we indulge in the internet. I can easily spend an hour or two scrolling if I allow myself to, but it gets to a certain point where after about 30 minutes to an hour of me scrolling, I'm like, I need to meditate or do something that is for my growth, as a human being. I need to either work on something creative, or I need to just like shut this out, because it is very stressful, like, honestly, it's like 1 second you're looking at like something that's really nice, and then the next second it's like something horrific that's happened in the world today.
Yeah.
And so your brain is just like okay, and it's like, meditation is
you're
a way.
You're distracted, you're overwhelmed.
Yes.
I think it's important to give yourself that time to actually sit and just be with yourself and think about yourself and think about your own life, and what do you want tomorrow to look like? You're not just being thrown around by the universe. You're not. And it's easy to just kind of get complacent, I think, with that idea of, I just have to react to everything I face, and that's kind of what it is. But that's not really what it is. You can empower yourself to be the creator, right? Instead of the responder. Because you are the creator, even if you're not doing it actively. So you might as well do it actively, because it can be a lot funner for you.
Yeah, so I think that's also, it's funny, because I think that I just want to touch on like what I first said, what I recommend to people to like feel better and feel more spiritually aligned. Combine reading with reading something about something spiritual.
Yeah, read Joe Dispenza's book. We said it last time.
Exactly. Yes. Joe Dispenza, Vishen Lakhiani, Deepak Chopra. Right now I'm listening to his audiobook called The Future of God, and it's got
Jose Silva, Neville Goddard, Louise Hay.
Yeah, and
Abraham Hicks.
And this guy, Dr. Norman Peale. It's like all of these different
people. So many people talk about it, because it's just like, it's known, it's been known, it's just not necessarily mainstream. That's it, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's really powerful, and it's just you really how can I put this? It's so amazing to be able to kind of access everything that has always been there, that you've just never necessarily paid attention to, within yourself, within how you look at life, within how you approach life, within what's a possibility for you, right? It's just, I feel like it reawakens this kind of like magic for life, this like enthusiasm for the moment, for living, that you had when you were like a child. You had that. I think we all intuitively, intrinsically are born with this kind of energy and like passion for life, and this feeling of like endless options, right? And over time we kind of slowly shut that down, and we make it more, we kind of put ourselves in boxes of like, this is who I am, this is what my life is, this is the only way things can go. And you're kind of like, you're putting yourself in a box without even knowing it, and I think that when you start doing these practices, it's like you're let out of the box, and it's just such an empowering, beautiful feeling that's just so transformative. And once you feel that, everything changes, and you're gonna watch things shift around you to align with this new version of yourself, right?
Yeah, and I think that another thing also is just, I think that all of these things, they really talk about how Marissa was saying, like, you have to expect it. And in like the Christian perspective, that's the word like faith, you have to have faith. And you have to have faith in yourself. You have to have faith in your future. You have to have faith in what you want. If you are working towards something, for instance, like me and Marissa with this podcast, for instance, I have faith in it, you know, and Marissa has faith in it, and we believe in it. You know?
I think that's the key, though, is knowing that only you need to see the visualization. Only you need to see the vision. You don't need your whole family or your whole friend group or everyone in your, job or anyone else to see the vision.
Even
right?
me and Marissa don't tell each other everything that we see.
Yeah, only you need to project it. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't matter if no one else sees it. It doesn't matter if people are like, you're delulu, you're crazy, right? Whatever. People are going to project their own limitations that they have for themselves onto you. You don't have to accept that, right? You have no limitations. So don't let them tell you that you do. Don't let anyone tell you that you do. Only you need to have those visualizations. You are what is attracting what is coming to your universe. And it's just that simple, you know?
Yeah, I think lately we've talked about this before in another episode. We keep mentioning that, but really you should listen to our Joe Dispenza episode. But I've been meditating morning, noon, and at night. And I'll even meditate after a gym session, and I'll just go and I have this, I can use a massage chair or something for 10 minutes, and it's funny because it times me for 10 minutes. So I find a 10-minute meditation, and I also have talked about this before, where it's like that is 10 minutes for me to just sit down and just go within. Mm-hmm. And it's just so funny because I think to myself, if I just put on music right now, or if I was just sitting here in silence, this 10 minutes would not go by so fast. Yeah. And I'm like, by the time that the machine is stopping, I'm like, that's hilarious because 10 minutes went by that quickly.
Yeah, now I can meditate for an hour and I'm like, whoa, it's already ending? I just sat here for an hour. And also, I just kind of want to throw this in there that yes, obviously, I would probably say, like, you should, like, just try to start off at least just, like, sitting and focusing and closing your eyes and doing it traditionally. But now I find myself that I like to, if I'm visualizing something and I'm feeling an emotion and I feel like I should have some kind of physical reaction, I will do it, right? I will move around. Sometimes I feel like I want to jump and celebrate. Sometimes I feel like I want to dance after I meditate and just let the energy flow, right? There's no right or wrong way to do it. But I just think it's so fun. And I do quickly want to touch on the other kind of thing that I was thinking about, just some brief thoughts about it, of self-concept and how I kind of already, mentioned this earlier of when you're doing this rewiring of your brain and your subconscious, part of it and part of, just realigning your entire vibration and being able to really do that is to tap into your own self-concept. So what is that? Basically, your self-concept is the way that you look at yourself objectively, right? Who are you? What is your place in the world? Are you a person that does this or this? Are you a person that, what do you do on your day-to-day basis? How do you look at yourself? Do people care about what you're doing, right? Do you think people are cringed out by you? Do you think, whatever, everything. Like, how do you look at yourself? And it's so fun because, it's almost like you're creating your own character. Like, sometimes I feel like what helps me is that I imagine like I'm in a movie and I'm writing my own movie. And it's also been a powerful tool for me to be able to be really aware of what I'm doing in every moment, what I'm thinking, what I'm saying. Because I imagine, my viewers watching my movie and I know how the plot has to go, so I have to align with that plot. You know what I mean? I can't be acting different because the viewers are watching. Does that make sense? That's just what I've used to kind of help me, and also it helps you kind of align with, like, you are the main character, right? Other people are supporting characters. These plot lines are going to happen. Like, you already wrote the movie for yourself, right? And it helps to kind of build that self-concept. You don't have to do that, but that's just kind of like my method. And it's just so crazy how much you feel different, right? That when you really start stepping into alignment with the version of you that you want to be, when you have all the things that you want, when you fulfill all your goals. Mm-hmm. And that is not in meditation, right? That's in the everyday moments. That's when I'm driving my car, I'm driving my dream car, right? What does that mean? I'm standing up straight in my car, you know? Like, I'm driving with confidence. I know people are looking at my car and people are thinking, wow, you know, I wonder what she does, or, you know, that's a nice car, right? When I park, when I get out of my car, how do I carry myself, right? I'm getting out of my dream car. It's a beautiful car. I'm getting out like a baddie. You know what I mean? It's those little moments where when you change your self-concept of like, I'm a person that has a nice car. I'm a person that's driving around a nice car. I'm a person that does this, has this, whatever, right? It's really fun. You do feel like a little kid again. It does feel like you're just being playful and having fun, you know? And yeah, some people would say it's like, oh, it's Delulu, but it's like, the universe is basically a simulation, you know? Like, it's all a game. We're just trying to attract what we want to receive because it is a game, right? Like, what are you going to put in your mirror, you know?
I think that the last thing that I'll say for this episode is that Vishen Lakhiani and Deepak Chopra and Joe Dispenza and Abraham, they all talk about the fact that, and Louise Hay, they all talk about this, that your brain believes what you say and what you truly believe. And if you talk to yourself, if you talk to your body, then you are going to get certain results. So, for instance, Vishen Lakhiani cured himself from really bad acne that he had for like years before he started meditating about this acne going away and speaking to his body as though he's getting rid of this acne. He would say, he would send loving messages to his face and send healing messages to his face.
Right.
And after 6 weeks, it went away, this acne that he had struggled with for years. And then now he talks about it in his book. He talks about about the 6-phase meditation method. He talks about how now there's science behind this phenomenon, which was a phenomenon back in the 80s.
It was just something woo-woo idea.
Something that was completely misunderstood and something that was not, is still not widely accepted, but is something that is now scientifically proven.
Right, it was not backed up by scientific research until recently.
Yes, and then, you know, also like Deepak Chopra also speaks about this as well, about how, you know, that there's studies of people who, you know, and also Dr. Norman Peele also talks about this as well, that your muscles will literally grow if you talk to your muscles.
Yeah.
And if you envision yourself working out, if you envision yourself getting stronger, then you will get stronger. And it's funny because now, once again, how Marissa said, I just saw a
study about that.
Yeah, that how Marissa was saying that to the outside world, to maybe your family members or to your friends that maybe do not understand these concepts or have never heard of these concepts before. Like, honestly, it took us a while to get on this journey. You know, I was not born into a family that meditated. I was not born into a family that knew about these concepts. We knew about prayer. We knew about faith. We knew about these different concepts.
Religious practices. But
they're religious practices that do come with validity, Madi, and they work for a lot of people. But the reality is...
I just think that it's a separate entity.
It can be worked into it. It has to be worked into it. And that's what Dr. Norman Peele talks about. That for a lot of people, you have to be able to bridge the worlds between these two things. And they ultimately are all the same thing. Prayer and meditation and visualization are all one and the same. I
would encourage, because I do think that, yeah, you're right. It's sometimes in religion, it's kind of stigmatized. The way I would look at it is, I'm not religious, but if I was to think about how to incorporate this into it, if you believe that your deity, your God, created the universe, it gave you these tools in this universe, right? You're not, like, betraying anything by using the laws of physics to your advantage.
No one's saying that.
You know, most religions have the view that, like, gods want to help people, right? Or that they're on your side. So this is part of it, right?
Yeah, but my point is that now these practices that we're speaking about, I think it's funny because I think if I was back in the 80s and me and Marissa were starting this podcast and I was speaking about these things, I would be ready to face like a mass amount of backlash from skeptics and from people who are very religious and who do not see, you know, how this could physically be. But the more that time has gone on, you know, the year 2023, we're 2 years away from 2024. And in this time period, we are finally understanding that these things are science, and that we can measure the differences in your brain from before you meditate, from before you pray, from before you visualize, and to after.
I just thought about it too, because you were talking about how your body can be changed as well. I want to emphasize that, first of all, that nothing's off the table here, right? You can definitely use these things to influence your physical body, right? Everything is physical, everything is atoms, everything is particles. So nothing is immune to this, including your own body. And actually, part of the research that Joe Dispenza has done is that when you're rewiring your brain, you are literally creating new cells. You're training the cells. You're training your DNA on how to function. So if you've had some kind of like, you know, issue that you're dealing with, right? Like with his acne, for example, right? If he tells his body, if he tells his mind, if he tells his cells that this is the case, they're going to react and behave and change actively, right? And so this can be applied to anything. Select, project, expect, collect, right? This can be applied to your body as well. It's literally unlimited. Literally unlimited. But, well, yeah.
On that note,
that's just been kind of what's on our mind lately.
Esoteric vibes.
You guys already know. If you know, you know. And if you know us, you definitely know. So,
and if you don't know, if you don't know, then I hope that this has encouraged
helped you,
yeah, to look into these things, to read one of these books, to just read a book in general. Just maybe start there.
Yes, read a book. Read books.
To listen to one meditation, you know, just to lay there.
Try it out. Try it out for a week. You know, give it a proper chance, because everything is hard to incorporate at first.
Sometimes when I wake up and I know that I'm going to fall asleep if I meditate right after I wake up, then I'll do my stretches, like my little yoga session with myself. And it's like 4 different poses. Like, I'm not some advanced yoga instructor or something. You know, I do just do 4 basic poses, and I listen to this meditation while I'm doing it. So you don't have to just be like forcing yourself to be as still as physically possible.
I find it easier to do at night, personally, because you're already like calming down.
Yeah.
I would recommend that when you first start, that you do it sitting up, because
you'll fall asleep.
You're gonna fall asleep if you do it laying down, especially at first. Even me, I still I'm like. Sometimes if I'm doing a long meditation, at the end I'm like, oh, I have to lay down, but I'm in it. It's fine. But like, you know, I would suggest that it's easier to get into the habit of really being focused in your mind if you're sitting up. So that's just like a tip. But that being said, I would be really interested to hear from you all if you have any suggestions for anything that you would like us to discuss as far as these topics, or any questions you have for us about our journeys, about our experiences, commentary at all. We would really like some engagement so that we can also be having a back and forth conversation with you guys, you know, sometimes. That'd be fun. So, encouragement to drop a comment or hit us with a DM.
Absolutely. Hit us with the DM, share our stuff, talk about us. We love it. We're here for it. But anyway, have a beautiful day, night, morning, whatever it may be.
Thank you so much for watching, listening.
Whatever it may be.
Yes, whatever.
And we thank you for watching or listening to Andy
and Monty,
the podcast. See us next week. Bye.
Bye. And the most important lesson for today
is select, project, expect, collect.
Woo!